been a week. Oh, it's been more than a week. It's been 2 weeks now.
This is what the cancellation's done to me, Konrad. Let's go with it. How are you getting on, Konrad? This is the first one we've recorded since we've known that the cancellation has happened of 1899, and we're just going to sort of give our thoughts here. Konrad, how are you?
I'm well. I'm glad that's staying in because I sniffed enormously in between you fluffing that intro and then carrying on with it. So the listeners will enjoy that, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm doing all right, to be honest. All things considered, I'm disappointed, as I'm sure we all are. Mm-hmm. It was kind of difficult coming back to this and mustering the enthusiasm for it. There's definitely a certain I don't know, a melancholy in looking through reams of theories that I now know will probably not be confirmable or what's the opposite of confirmable? Deniable? Maybe? I don't know. But
confirmed. They will not be confirmed.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, let's just assume they'll all be confirmed and pretend they were all going to be correct. Yeah. So there's definitely a sadness there. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's another in the. This is probably my first experience of this, actually. To be honest, I was going to say this is the next in a long line of cancellations of beloved TV shows that have really dedicated fan bases who are really heartbroken when they go away because they don't hit some sort of nebulous metric that these streaming services gauge it against. But I very rarely, as you well know, it takes a lot to get me to watch a TV show. Normally someone needs to nag me for 5 years.
He's a movie guy.
I'm a movie guy.
I nagged him for 5 years to watch Dark, and the only reason he started watching is because I offered him the fame of a podcast.
Yeah, you were like, there is a co-pilot seat on the rocket ship that is the Culture Cave, and I'm asking you to jump on board, and that was enough to get me on. But this is my first time experiencing it in real time, and it does. It truly does suck. It really does. Yeah. There's not really any more articulate way to put it than that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I obviously experienced it with the OA in real time as well. If you haven't watched the OA, it's maybe we're at the point now where it's been cancelled for maybe 6 years now, 5 years. I can't remember exactly. Maybe only 4. Who knows? Time is weird. But apparently, through that being cancelled, I've learned that potentially Netflix only hold on to the rights for 10 years. I don't know what that means for 1899, but I know that Britt Marling, who's the star of the OA as well as one of the creators of it, has said that they hope to maybe in the future have a Twin Peaks comeback, which would be cool. 1899, I don't know how that would work, I'm going to be honest with you, and maybe it won't. I really want to end this story, and I've talked already about it, we're sort of a week out from the news here, I think, around a week out from it.
We're not exactly striking while the iron is hot, to be honest. Because...
No. And that's not really what our channel's about, is it?
No, that's true. We're not a hot take channel. We're just kind of here beavering away on whatever it is we want to work on. But it is, I'm sure it's still fresh in people's minds. And it's, I don't know what's the. I don't want to spend too long on this. I don't know if you had a lot planned for it, but what is your take on the reality of or the realisticness of 1899 finding a home somewhere else?
I don't know. I think it's not going to. That's my gut instinct, because I think that Netflix has too much to lose. So if they were to allow Amazon or HBO or someone, Apple or whatever, to take this property, they really run the risk of having egg on their face if it's successful. Yeah. Whereas if they just don't let it, what do they have to lose? Yeah. If they want to cancel it and it's cancelled, what do they have to lose? They've already said no to the creators. Yeah. It's not like they care about saying no again. In my opinion, it was cancelled it was cancelled because it wasn't a viral hit. Yeah. It was a hit that was number 1 or number 2 or number 3 for over a month. Having said that, I think what Netflix wants now is they want the show which everyone talks about on Twitter, and it's number 1 trending on Twitter for 2 weeks when it's released, and then they want another one. So if it doesn't get that 2 weeks number 1 trending on Twitter, then they just bin it. And unfortunately, Dark was so good that they were given a higher budget show this time, and therefore it was held to higher budget show Netflix standards, which we all know are bullshit, but it was held to them, you know?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does seem like they want something to step into the shoes of like Stranger Things or whatever, and be like, well, if you're not like a cultural phenomenon of the level of like a Game of Thrones, then we're not interested in really supporting you in any meaningful way, which is just, I mean, like, it's incredibly frustrating because Netflix don't release any metrics. I suspect specifically because they don't want people to challenge them on this kind of stuff, and also because they don't want to give away like how successful they actually are, because it's in their interest to keep it secret. But by every indication I can see, it was a successful show. Like it's a foreign, well, I mean, it's partially English, but a partially foreign language show with some pretty high concept stuff going on in it, and yes, it was still incredibly popular. And not all TV shows are immensely popular in their first season. That's the really frustrating thing. Like it takes a while sometimes for these things to find their momentum, and it's just I don't know, very, very disappointing. But I don't want to start this on too much of a down note, because I was still very excited going into this episode, to be honest. Like, and it's without giving too much away up front, it very much justified my anticipation of this episode. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in this one.
There is, and I just want to say as well, just before we move into the breakdown, to the listeners and to the viewers on YouTube, subscribe to the Culture Cave, because plenty more stuff coming, plenty more stuff. We've got mine and Ema's reactions to the episodes. We've got Konrad and I are going to be talking about some theories afterwards, even theories into the void, but theories all the same. Yeah. As well as that, we're taking suggestions for what maybe we're going to go do next. We're really sort of, this news has made us sort of go into, I don't know, planning mode. Like, what should we do next? Because in our mind, our channel was going to be, formed around these 3 seasons of 1899 for the next couple of years. Not going to happen now, but we still want to do sort of good analysis and have fun and all this sort of thing. So we're currently thinking, stick around for the journey. It'll be good fun. What we won't do, what Netflix did, we will not be following 1899 with Wednesday the week after, because that really screwed this show over, and we won't be doing it to it. Don't worry.
We're pivoting to being a pranks channel actually now. That's my pitch. Is we're gonna just do the most hilarious pranks you've ever seen.
Right. See you in the breakdown. Oh no! First of all, we have to go into Konrad's pre-thoughts. That's the one. Yep. Okay. See you there.
Hello there. And welcome back. It's a great week. It's been a fantastic week. Let's get the obvious thing out of the way first in terms of pre-thoughts. Obviously, we found out that 1899 was not going to be renewed this week. I don't want to, or last week, I guess, at this point. I don't want to belabor this point too much, because I'm sure Anthony and I are going to talk about it loads in the main body of the episode, except to say that it was kind of tough to work up the enthusiasm to take notes on this episode coming up, The Storm, because knowing that really disappointing to not see these creators allowed to finish their vision, or bring their vision to completion in a meaningful way. So yes, that sucks, but we will persevere regardless. We'll struggle on through. So the episode's called The Storm. And we saw in the last episode them sailing off into a storm. So there's presumably literally going to be a storm, but possibly there's also a metaphor there as well. I sense some symbolism in that title. We've got the boy in the pyramid still missing, still being searched for by Henry Singleton and his cronies. As I recall, he kind of disappeared into Moira's memory. Not in episode 6, but in episode 5. Like, he kind of sent her into her mind palace institution place, and then followed her, or ended up in a different one, because we saw him kind of looking around. Which, if he is the one that's buried there and is her brother who died, would be appropriate, I guess, that he kind of vanishes into her memory. But yeah, looking forward to seeing more of that. And always, or as always, I am hoping for more Anton Lesser, because he's great fun in the show. Kind of choose the scenery a bit in a way that I really enjoy. So yes, let's get into the main body of the episode.
Hey you. Yeah. You. Do you like 1899?
Well, as well as these breakdown videos, we also do theories, unanswered questions, and plenty more. Subscribe so you don't miss it.
The episode opens with a little bit of sexy time.
Bit of lovemaking.
Bit of lovemaking. So Maura and Daniel, or should I say Henry and Daniel, making a bit of love in an interesting room. Now, I'm going to go through a few quotes that are said here, because I think before we talk about the interesting room, I want to kind of talk about the subject matter. Is that okay?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so Daniel says, "I love you, never forget." Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And then there's Maura says, "I wish this moment would last forever." And then Daniel points to her head and says, "Well, it does in there."
Yep.
And we think that's very lovely. But then she says, "Oh, you're finally starting to listen to me." And then he basically says, "Psych, no, I don't listen to you." And he says that he doesn't agree with everything she says. And he says that he thinks reality is what's outside. And she thinks what's reality is what is inside the brain. And then... yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. It's like the idea of what is reality. Is it what you experience within the brain, or is it what the brain experiences in the outside world? You know?
Yeah, and it's like we know that these two creators have been influenced by... I don't specifically know whether it's Blade Runner or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but they love a bit of, kind of existential sci-fi. And this is kind of a continuation of that. Obviously, that's more to do with, is an AI a person? Like, what actually defines being alive and having a soul?
Yeah.
But this is kind of an extension of that in that... well, who is it? Is it Kierkegaard? I think, therefore I am. I can't remember which philosopher it was. Or it might
Descartes?
It might be Descartes, yeah. I'm not very well versed in philosophy, as I've probably just exposed there. But... whichever philosopher it was, I think, therefore I am. I mean, this is kind of that manifested into a conversation. They're saying, well, if you experience something, then that thing is real, and your perception of it is real, regardless of the physical elements that go into making it. And I think that I love this kind of stuff because it's this like philosophical musing from the writers, but at the same time it works functionally within this kind of nuts simulation plot that they're telling, and it's just it's these two kind of like prongs of their writing style kind of working hand in hand really beautifully.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Like you have the Friese sort of logical mind who only reads science and philosophy textbooks because she's sick of all fictional stories ending the same, and you've got Baron Boda who's just like an out and out artist. I love like the difference in the two of them.
They're like Iceman and Maverick is what they're like. They're polar opposites, but get them together and magic happens.
Look at the damage they can do. But fantastic. Netflix, of course, quaking in their boots are these two. But right, so few things I noticed. Now we're getting to the end of the season now. I'm just going to start saying things.
We're going to fire from there. Can I say something before you do, actually?
Yeah,
just one small thing. This bedroom doesn't look like it's in 1899. That's point one. It's sort of like, that's a very modern room for 1899.
Well, who knows? Actually, we have all sorts of things in 1899. We have computer tablets this episode. So
we've got Nokia N-Gages and PSPs in this episode. So
PSPs, PSPs with a little knockout drinks tray on the side. But anyway, did you notice that Maura was in a hospital gown whenever she got out of bed?
Oh, I didn't notice that actually. That's a good pull. But I mean, I've talked before about like memories kind of blending together and things that are real but being where they shouldn't be, and that's probably an example of that, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing I noticed. I'm just throwing stuff at you, Konrad, now because let's be honest with you. We only got one episode after this, and I just want to hear what your thoughts are because I might forget to talk about it later.
Okay.
Because we're not going to get any reveals. Did you notice the sloped ceiling in this room?
Yes. Now. Okay. Now. All right. When they leave this room, Daniel walks out of the pyramid.
Yeah, he does.
But they very explicitly don't ever show him actually walking out of the pyramid.
True.
Which, to me, makes me think that this bedroom isn't actually inside the pyramid. The show is screaming at us that this room is inside the pyramid, which makes me immediately sets off my bullshit detector of just like, no. we've done this dance before. Like I'm not falling for this one again. So I think it's her it's her like Mora's memory and the simulation putting this room inside the pyramid, but it is actually a room from somewhere else in her memory. I mean, it looks like a New York apartment or something like that. It's very like open plan with like bookshelves everywhere and everything. Like, so yeah, I don't think this is actually the interior decoration of this pyramid.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, well, I know what you mean. And like, the memories could be distorted here, like definitely. It could, especially considering that we don't actually know, like, we got confirmation actually in this episode that the simulation theory was correct, Konrad.
Yes.
But we don't actually know that what year this is actually we are actually in, and therefore the idea that these memories are happening in 1899, they're all distorted in some way.
Yeah.
But his memory, his memory where he walks out the pyramid, is on the place, or it looks to me anyway, to be the exact place that Henry Singleton's little observation office is. Because it's like the same landscape.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do have like Henry's mental health hospital there, which to be honest with you is probably where I haven't actually thought about that. But maybe that's where he is. I don't know. But basically, we have all of like the black shards around as well. So in his memory, right? Do you think that the actual black shard? You think it's maybe like a different planet or something, not even Earth? Do you think that's in Daniel's memory, or do you think that's some weird stuff going on?
No, I don't think that's in Daniel's memory. I think that exists in a separate part of the simulation that is constructed. Like the whole Anton Lesser thing is Mora's memory, so she's like kind of siloed him off somewhere else. So even though characters may literally be in the same place that Henry Singleton appears to be, as you say, like his crazy monitoring facility appears to be right next to the mental facility and right next to the pyramid. They're essentially like different shards of the same simulation where people are walking in the same place but in completely different places at the same time.
Yeah, we've actually seen something like that before, where the boy, now known as Elliot, went down the hole, and then when Mora followed him, he wasn't there. He was in a different version of that place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so I think there's like a potentially infinite number of these landscapes and every other kind of memory-based landscape that we see.
Okay, cool. So then Daniel wakes up. Mora does say wake up to him. Wakes up in the sort of room 1011, which is in the mental institution.
Yeah.
Where Mora locked him in. He then says, let me out of here. But she just leaves. She just leaves him.
He shouts that everyone will die again, which she doesn't take seriously. Which maybe she should have done, but like to be honest,
she treats him as a man standing on the corner yelling,
with a sign,
everyone's gonna
that says
die,
Jesus is coming or whatever. But in this case, it's everything's going to be a simulation, or everything is a simulation, and everyone's going to die. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so then Mora climbs up out of the memory, and we find out that there is a storm raging at this minute.
Storms are brewing.
Huge storm. Storms are brewing. We're in the end game now, as they would say.
Yes.
Up on the bridge, they're all freaking out. We've got all the rest of the characters that are still alive, except for the ones who are down in the engine room.
Yeah.
And they're all freaking out. They're fearing that they're going to capsize. They decide they're going to go get the captain. Mrs. Wilson is still got her black hand, and she's like trying to hide it.
Yeah, it's like, it almost looks like petrified. Like it's made of like, it looks like it's made of like really brittle coal or something, like, or charcoal. Yeah. Like it's about to crumble apart. One thing I wanted to mention in the last scene, which just because we're going to mention it again, I assume later, is that we see Mora's necklace, I think for the first time, and I do recognise the symbol on it. It's like the hexagonal thing with the like interior line and then the pyramid, and I can't figure out where I mean it's been on Clemence's earrings and on like the carpet, but I feel like we've seen it in other places that I'm not remembering, but it seems significant.
Oh, it's literally everywhere. So if you were to look at, like even for example, like Lucian's like cravat and stuff, it's everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Wilson's dress and everything. You've got the triangle symbol. But yeah, there's a little bit more intricacy in Mora's necklace itself. Actually, a little bit more intricacy there. I think that's when Mora comes in to Mrs. Franklin, Mrs. Wilson, which isn't until a little later on. But yeah, so that definitely happens. So then Daniel opens up. Now this is a really cool part. So Daniel opens up the ship's hull from within the wall of the institution. We all followed along here. So he opens up the hull that was behind the wallpaper or whatever, and then climbs in to yet another Baron Odor and Yoncha Friesa tunnel.
Yeah. You
which
cannot
is a tunnel.
move for tunnels in these. That's probably why Netflix cancelled it. They were like, "You gotta stop digging tunnels." Like the foundations of several European cities have been permanently compromised by all these tunnels that you've dug during film.
Yeah, exactly. They've used up their tunnel budget here, but basically they're walking. He gets in, climbs into these things, and he's walking through basically big wire tunnels.
Yes.
Like there's huge wires and cables in these tunnels. So what do you think of that design?
The production design of this is amazing. It almost the cables almost look alive. Like it feels kind of kind of biomechanical, and organic in a way. It kind of reminded me a bit of H.R. Geiger mixed with, I don't know if you've ever seen this or if the people listening have ever seen this, but a Japanese movie called Tetsuo the Iron Man, which is about this man kind of blending with technology and becoming this kind of monstrosity of flesh and metal. It is all just wires, there's no flesh or anything in it, but the way it's kind of shot, it feels very vascular, like he's sort of traveling through a vein almost. But it's amazing. It's such good production design on that tunnel.
Out of curiosity, Tetsuo the Iron Man, when was that? When did that come out?
86, I think. It was in the 80s.
All right. Isn't Tetsuo the name of the character in Akira who also goes that way?
It is, yeah. I don't know whether that's just I've never looked into it, but I don't know whether that's just a very, very big coincidence, or there is a reference there.
A meaning to the name, maybe.
Yeah, because Tetsuo, the Iron Man, I think it was after Akira the manga. I'm not sure when it came out. When the manga came out, but it's one of those things where it would not surprise me at all to find out Yoncha Friesa and Baron Odor have seen Tetsuo the Iron Man and Akira and been influenced by them, because they're both very influential movies.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so a bit more Conor McGregor here. Mora runs into him in the hallway. Mora says, "I thought the captain was back on the ship." Oh, a little bit of a slip of the tongue there.
You've screwed it up there, Mora. Come on.
He's like, "What do you mean back on the ship? Where were you?" Exactly. So, and then he asked, "Have you found the boy?" She said, "Nope, didn't find the boy." He's on a mad hunt for this boy.
Yeah, he's in real big shit mode at the moment. Just he's got to find the boy, and he doesn't care who he's almost not really pretending that he or not really playing his part anymore at this point. He's just I'm off. See you later.
Yeah, exactly. And then he does actually go, and this is the part where the PSP, he takes a little drawer out, and then inside the drawer, at the very back, there is a little tablet which he takes out and starts to type away a triangle code into it. Yeah,
so he upgrades his N-Gage for a PSP and scans a schematic of the ship, which has a great kind of sci-fi sound effects as it's doing it. Looks pretty sci-fi to me. That doesn't look like anything that's believably kind of old-fashioned but with computer parts. And it also has a shutdown timer on it. Counting down at the top of the screen, which is a dramatic device as old as time itself, but one that still works just fine.
Yeah, love it. My favourite part of that scene is not the reveal of this new prop, but actually when he says, while looking through the schematics of the Kerberos, he says about the boy, "Where are you, you little rat?"
Yeah. He's a shit. He is a real shit, this character. He just there's no redeeming qualities about him. And it's I'm not going to keep mentioning it, but it's a real shame that we won't ever find out any more about him, because most these creators are really good at giving complexity to characters who seem very black and white, and he is just pure black at this point. It's there's nothing good about this character.
Yeah, he was going to be the Noah of this season, this series, you know? And I love as well, when he called him a little rat, that really sounds like something Conor McGregor would say in a pre-match pre-match press conference.
Throwing whiskey at his opponents or whatever it is he does. Attacking their buses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, Jesus Christ. Right, okay, so Maura goes into Ike's memory to try and find him. Ike's wife is sort of, I don't know what you would say, just like sort of misfiring, I suppose.
Yeah.
Are you
like,
you lost? Are you well? Just keep saying, are you lost? Are you well?
Yeah, it's like, what do you want? Can I help? And ask if she's well. Like, it's this like loop of questions that are designed to kind of get, I guess, like progress this part of the simulation on, but it's stuck in a loop because the whole thing's falling apart at this point. I love the visual.
NPC.
Yeah. I love the visual of the like the kind of glitchy electrical storm like raging over Ike's family home as well. Like another awesome visual.
Yeah, and I also love the fact because they use the volume that was probably like there for the actors to see while they were acting too. It's really cool. Okay, so Daniel crawls through the cable tunnel, and he comes out of a hatch into a memory, and by the rosary beads on the ground, we can tell this is like Angel and Ramiro's memory, which we haven't seen played out yet, but we get a little hint of it here. So what do you think about this idea of like crawling out of these tunnels into different memories?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of similar to the like bug idea, I guess. Like he's moving through the almost like the mechanisms of the machine powering the simulation itself to emerge into the various parts of it. And cool to see a reveal of Spain or Portugal or wherever this is supposed to be. Presumably he like looks down the well, which and there's obviously the rosaries on the floor, which makes me think, did they like push a priest down a well or something? Is that what's happened?
What a murder.
I know, they're like, we can see the face of Our Lady Mary on this stone, Father, and then they get him to look closer, and then push him in, and like...
No. You've missed a very subtle detail, Konrad.
Go on.
We see the face of Mary on this stone, Father. Take off your clothes, push him in.
Yeah, that's true. They needed his cassock. So
can't believe that.
Maybe they what they probably did was they had Angel go around the other side, grab him by the shoulders, pull him down, but at the same time Ramiro grabbed like the bottom of it, like the hem of the cassock. So as he fell forward, he was kind of do you know how John Cena used to take his t-shirt off, where the whole thing would just like that?
Yeah, one hand.
Yeah, that's what they did to him. So he kind of just slipped out of it as he fell.
That actually, I think you're onto something there. I think I'm also reminded of like the Mighty Ducks 2, where like they teach them how to fight rough, like the street kids teach them how to play hockey rough, and it's like stick, gloves, shirt, and he like rips the shirt off his back. I think that's what it's a mixture. That's probably a mixture of all the influences. But then we've got Ramiro et al. I've said here, so all going down to the engine room for some reason. Eben and Anka decide to stay where they are.
I guess that's just Eben being like, this is supposed to happen, and being fatalistic.
Accepting it. Accepting like,
And Anka like has his moment to choose whether he's going to stick with his nuts wife or like break from her. And it is, it is legitimately sad, because it's essentially like, well, I've gone this far with you. It wouldn't make sense to change right now at the death. Why ruin a life of bad decisions right at the end? I very much enjoyed Tova telling Eben to like shut the fuck up at last. That was good.
Called her crazy and everything like that.
That was fun. And there's a lot of like hidden in all the like cool sci-fi and mysteries of these kind of shows. There's a lot of really cool like procedural stuff as well that they just kind of. It just shows they know what they're doing. So like when Ramiro was like handing out life jackets to everyone, and I think it's Anka who says, no, we'll freeze. We're not going to drown. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's cool. Like that's good writing that you know that, and it's like, and you put it in there. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't really add anything, but it's just makes the characters seem more real and more like and gives you something to latch onto with them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And also I like the idea as well is that Ramiro is wearing the life vest. He gets taken to the top of the water, and then he can't swim down to get through the door. Like, what's he thinking?
Yeah. Don't put it on inside. They tell you that on every plane you ever go on. I know he hasn't been on a plane, but like, come on, Ramiro.
Oh, who knows? He may be.
He probably has been on a plane. He's probably been on a fucking spaceship, to be honest, with the way this show's going.
Okay, so Mora leaves the memory and but then this is a very small moment, but then looks and has sort of thinks about, for some reason, the photo of Ike and his family. Don't know if there's anything to say about that, but it's a nice little character moment. Yeah. Daniel continues through the hatches. He seems to be in Oleg's memory because we see the little New York card.
Yep.
Now, this memory is an interesting one. It's a snowy environment, so you could believe this is maybe Poland in the winter. But there is a blood trail leading up to, I don't know, is a little hutch or something.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's almost like a hay bale, but like it's kind of got wood in it as well. Like I'm not sure. Maybe that's just insulation, like around it or something. But am I getting confused with the Tova and Cresta one? I can't remember if there was hay.
Oh yes, no, yeah, you are, yeah. It was actually like a wooden thing, but it did like it looked. It wasn't like a house. It wasn't big enough. It did look like it was meant to hold something. It was to store something, and there was a blood trail leading up to it. So we now know that there's also seems to be murder in Oleg's past too. So there's murder in a lot of people's pasts.
This is sort of like an Agatha Christie novel. This has turned into where like everyone's harboring a dark secret.
Everyone was the whole time, but apparently it's all murder. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, it's all like there's like one person on this ship who like didn't pay a speeding ticket or something, but they got lumped in with all these murderers.
Yeah, this isn't the same. Come on. So engine room next. We've got Lucien has a little sort of a wobble. Jerome comes to his care straight away. Good
he
on
does.
Him. And then we get a whole thing where they're asking Franz for help. Franz says things like, for example, we have to get the ship going into the storm. We don't want to have the ship parallel to the waves. We'll capsize in no time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about ships.
I've played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, so I know that full well. You got to hit them head on because those rogue waves, they'll get you. They'll get you and they'll turn you over.
Excellent. So also, I will say, guys, listen to this. You know me. I'm obviously thinking about the Brexit, right? No, it's not Brexit in general, but it's actually just like sort of progression of society in general.
Yeah.
You have to go into the storm to progress society. If you just go with the direction of the wave, if you go parallel to it, you will capsize. It's littered throughout.
So and then we have Brexit means Brexit is what Anthony's saying there.
Well, exactly. Well, unfortunately, it did as well, didn't it? So Franz. Now, this is a cool thing. Maybe you could explain this. You lived in Portsmouth for a bit. You know about ships.
Sure, I'm a naval man. I'm not.
You've walked. We've went into the depths of the HMS Victory together.
We did.
Yeah. So I know a thing about a hull or two. But tell me this, Konrad. What's a bulkhead?
Bulkheads are like so. The ship is like, if you imagine like a ship as like a series of compartments, the bulkhead is like the bit that joins the compartments, like the really like a kind of it's like a square, or it wouldn't be a square because it's a ship, so it's like, flat and then kind of curved into a U, like big bits of like iron and steel, and then you put a door in it basically, and those are designed to seal off the compartments. So if you have a leak, you can seal the door to a bulkhead and in theory save the ship. And famously the Titanic had a bunch of compartments joined by bulkheads which had gaps at the top of them, so the water would just pour over the top of the bulkhead and into the next compartment, which is one of the big reasons why it sank.
Well, that's pretty stupid then, isn't it? Like, let's be honest.
Built in Belfast. Pride of Belfast.
Sailed from Southampton. Right, okay.
Can I just say, actually, for Franz, like, it's nice to actually have some leadership qualities from him. This is a bit of a redemption for a character here. Sending Oleg to steer the ship while he goes to close the water bulkheads. There's a lot of like heroism in this episode, to be honest. Even though I suspect it's a simulation, and even though I suspect this isn't the last that we're going to see these characters, they don't know that. This is them accepting that they're probably going to go off and die to save the ship, and it is heroic. And I did, although it's kind of formulaic by the end of this episode, I did love all the people going off. Like, Tova goes off with Franz, and Ling Yi goes off with Oleg. Literally, like, 5 minutes after them saying, the most important thing is we keep the engines running. And then it's like, well, Lucian is having, like, some kind of attack that's going to kill him shortly. So they're going to go off. Like, everyone's just leaving. I can't remember who it is. This is just Angel and Ramiro by the end of the episode, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, guess it's just us.
Yeah.
Like, making a whole bloody steamship run. And then that doesn't go very well either. But, so there we go. Ling Yi goes off with Oleg saying, I'll never leave you. And then Oleg left her later. We'll get into that later. But,
he's not very good at steering a ship either, which, I mean, people who've steered boats in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, surely it's pretty easy to steer a ship, right? You just hold your hand, just that. Hold her steady! That's all you need to do.
Like, the thing is, well, when you steer a ship, aren't you just, like, moving the rudder?
Yeah, I think so.
So, it's not like the storm being so powerful, like, the waves. It's acting as if he's trying to actually put weight in to steer the whole ship against the weather.
Yeah, that's him moving the whole ship there. That's He's got the strength of the Incredible Hulk.
Like, surely there must be mechanisms, like, and like, pulleys and, like, you know, systems to increase the moment of force to allow you to turn the wheel quite easily.
Not in these German ships. That's why they're so good at sports, because all of their basic kind of jobs require feats of superhuman strength to perform.
Yeah. I've heard that about them actually as well. But anyway, so the next bit's really interesting to me. Okay, just to sort of forewarn you there, Konrad, I'm interested in this part.
Okay.
Mora still has Daniel's device. First bit of interesting stuff.
Yep.
Now this is the interesting part for me. She goes into Daniel's room, and under Daniel's bed there is Daniel's memory. Now here's the thing. I thought this Joker came from the Prometheus. Why the hell does he have his own room?
Almost as if he himself is as much trapped within this as everyone else. Like, he thinks that he's like, I've fucking clocked this, I've figured this out, I'm going to get us out of this. But he doesn't realise that he's just as much a part of it as everyone else is. He's not looking in the right place. He's almost there, but he's not quite, unfortunately. And
maybe he's doing what the simulation wants him to.
Well, that's an entirely separate discussion, but one that's very possible as well.
Yeah, I think also maybe it's like a video game sort of thing, and like sleeping in that bed made that his spawn point, which means that...
Yeah, it's like Minecraft, when you sleep there, that's where you wake up when you die.
Yeah, and then under his bed it became his memory because it was his spawn point now. I think that's probably right.
Yeah.
So she goes into his memory and into the big room, which is being hinted that it's within the pyramid.
Yeah, there's another bloody establishing shot of the pyramid, and her walking towards it, and then walking in the door of hers and Daniel's bedroom. I'm not falling for it. You're not getting me with this.
You know what I love about that establishing shot of the pyramid before it goes into the room?
Yeah.
It was a proper, like, I don't know, like sitcom establishing shot.
Yeah.
You know, like just like a proper... Like, really try to convince us.
You're expecting, like, the Seinfeld, like, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
that's
what I was expecting.
And she slides in the door like Kramer.
That would be amazing. A big, like, restaurant neon sign on the pyramid. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, the establishing shot was a bit too obvious to me.
Yeah,
like,
it's a real, like, neon sign talking about restaurant signs. It's a flashing sign saying this is where she's definitely going, and I'm just like, absolutely not. Get the fuck out of here, right? Like, we've done this dance before.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the moment where she starts having some flashback attacks of sexy time with Daniel, and then she sees a pile of photographs.
Yes.
Does suffer, I suppose, a little bit. Maybe the fact that the simulation means it eventually wouldn't have this problem, but a little bit of like the problem where why have this family taken 100 million photographs in the last month of their life while they all look exactly like this, but they have no pictures of when they're younger?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no... the answer to that is that it's a TV show and that they didn't have pictures of them when they were younger, I think. So they just...
I know.
Listen, she bought Daniel a camera for his, like, I don't know, 32nd birthday or however old he is, and they used it a lot. But there was nothing before then.
No, exactly. So basically, she sees all these photographs, and this is the moment. I'm sure, Konrad, you know, you're a clever fella. Yeah. You can put it together. You probably put together here that this little boy is her son.
Yeah. a big old red mark in the theory matrix for this one. Well, quite a few actually, because I'd speculated previously that they were the same person, which they're not, and that one of them was her brother, which hopefully Daniel's not her brother, because that has its own. I mean, we're going to be doing Dark again if that turns out to be the case. So,
perfect match. They're perfect match.
Oh god, they're going to be staring at each other through a coat cupboard across worlds by the end of this. But so both of those wrong. I should have really seen this coming, to be honest, because it was kind of staring me in the face, and it was really obvious by the time it's confirmed. But yes, so boy. Who I don't think his name is given at this point, but I mean it's Kieran, right? No, it's not Kieran.
Kieran's her brother.
What is his name? I wrote it down.
Elliot.
Oh, okay. No, why did I not? I don't think I did write it down. Well, there you go. Well,
Elliot.
Yeah.
So that's the son. I will say, back in one of my theory videos, like 8 months ago or something, my wife predicted that this would be her son. I think when we first saw him in like the original teaser or something. It's just a gut feeling she had, and she was right. This is a rare one. Anyone who followed our Konrad stuff, our Dark stuff. This is actually a really rare thing for Konrad, not predicting correctly the identity of someone. I don't think you've ever done this before.
Yeah, I normally get it right, but I think the problem was like if I like predict something early, or like predict someone's identity early, I tend to stick to my guns on it, even when all evidence to the contrary is standing right in front of me, as is the case with this. But yeah, so there's a couple of interesting things that come out of this though. So the grave we've seen, as we find out later in this episode, at the Institute. Is the most solid confirmation we've had yet, I think, that her memories are getting all muddled up and put in the wrong places, because it's her son's grave, but it isn't where it should be, where she grew up. Like, there's no reason why he would be buried there, given the traumatic relationship she says she had with that place. So that's point one.
Yeah.
And point two is that, and I don't think this is really confirmed in this episode, so maybe this is going to be something that will that you'll be able to clarify, or that will be clarified in the next episode. But she said earlier on in the series that she had complications at birth and couldn't have any more children. And I wonder whether that was true, or that she can't bring herself to have another child after this one, or is this another instance of a memory being so traumatic that her subconscious is not allowing her to clearly remember it and is obfuscating the truth?
Okay, yeah, so basically, there are good questions. You are asking the right questions. But I think later on, didn't Daniel, whenever Daniel joins her in this room, like, she actually mentions the fact that it's impossible, I can't have children. And then he says, oh, that's a false memory. You wanted to forget. That's what he says. He says you wanted to get rid of the pain. So what do you think that means?
So hold on, let me find, because I wrote it down, and now I need to find. Okay, yeah. So it is a little bit later, but yeah. So that false memory stuff, I was kind of hinting at it there, but I think it's a case of he thinks it's a false memory, but it's actually unresolved trauma manifesting in the same way that Anton Lesser's Henry Singleton has manifested as like the antagonist of this simulation because of her unresolved trauma caused by her relationship with her dad. The trauma of losing her son at a fairly early age. I don't know how old Elliot's supposed to be, but like he's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something.
I think, I don't know how old he's meant to be, but I think the actor looks about 10, 11.
Yeah, okay, sure, 10. So I think, I mean, again, Daniel's almost right, but it's not so much a false memory as she has created for herself within this simulation a biological reason for why she can't conceive and can effectively reject any intimacy or thoughts of conception, because she has not dealt with the trauma of losing a child, basically. So I don't think Daniel's completely wrong, but I think he's not quite looking at the full picture when he says that to her.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come back to the rest of that scene a little later once we sort of fill the gap between. But basically, Daniel goes into Moira's memory. He finally gets out of all this sort of tunnels thing, goes to Moira's memory, and then actually swipes some dirt off the top of the grave.
Yep.
And underneath the grave is a child's heavenly room, which is like every 10-year-old's dream, and inside the room is the boy Elliot. Now,
and Eric Obendorf, we found him, everyone. He's here.
yeah. Finally, a reason for Eric Obendorf. But so someone get Jurgen on the phone. But big Jurg. So basically, he's down there. Few questions here sort of tease out some stuff. So he says, "Where have you been?" He says, "Have you found the code?" And then there's the part where he says, "Mum." So there's the verbal confirmation that it's Mum. He says that she still doesn't remember, but she will, and it'll be done over once and for all. We need to find the device, he says, and Then Elliot actually gives his father a ring, a golden ring, a wedding ring, I suppose.
Yes.
And then he says, "She will wake up this time. I'm sure she will." So that's like the dialogue of this scene. So, code, what do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, the code is presumably to be input into the ship's terminal thing that we saw Conor McGregor futzing around with earlier, or maybe the thing down where the lifeboats are.
We were told later on. We were told the code could be anything. This, a key, and then she pulls the key out. So I'm assuming that's the code.
Yeah, but a code implies you have to input it somewhere as well, rather than just find it. I mean,
have we seen where it's going to be input? I think we did in this episode.
I'm trying to think now. It's been like a week since I saw this episode now, so I'm trying to.
Yeah. In your notes in a minute, you'll see.
Yeah, I'll be like, I remember this now. But yeah, so I mean, the code is interesting and becomes more interesting when we see what the actual, like, what the quote-unquote code is. I think the stuff that I really took away from this scene is it's the first use of the word loop in the whole show, which, you know, we know how much these guys love their loops.
Lowy loop, yeah.
But it's not the loop that they think it is, I don't think. I also found it interesting that Daniel... the boy Elliot hands Daniel what seems to be Moira's wedding ring. Based on the lovemaking that we saw earlier in this episode, he was on top, not to get too graphic about it, and her hand was the one that we could see with the wedding ring on it. Excuse me. So I don't know why Elliot has that in the simulation.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, maybe it was in that little room. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's maybe
she buried it with him actually, because I mean, if I follow, this is just me kind of firing from the hip, but if I follow the thought that the boy and her inability to conceive is a result of her not dealing with the trauma of losing a child at a young age, then I suppose the entire marriage could have fallen apart as a result of losing the son, and the wedding ring was buried with Elliot's body, and this is a kind of representation of that. Like, he kind of possesses the ring because it's buried with him, maybe. That would also be a really interesting twist to the Daniel and Moira relationship if Daniel's whole thing is like, I've got to get my wife back, she's got to remember. And then we get through to the sort of ultimate layer of this simulation. It's like, actually, it turns out we were divorced like 20 years ago or 50 years ago, or however long it's been running, because we lost a son and we couldn't reconcile the marriage after that, which would be entirely believable.
Or maybe like it's like, you need to remember, and she like remembers everything, and then she's like, you cheated on me. He's like,
remember less.
Yeah, I didn't mean remember everything. I didn't mean to remember everything. Yeah, like that would be fantastic. But one thing I wanted to mention about this scene as well, in the little underground grave room, this is the point when they start talking about the code, when they start talking about loops, when they start talking about all this sort of stuff, right? This is the bit where they're really like, this is the wink and the nudge here, saying we're in a simulation, guys. Yeah. Before they reveal, they always want to like lead you straight.
This is your classic like the thing you always spot with these creators, like that they want you to get it. They want you to get it before, even if it's only 20 minutes before. They want you to get it before they actually say it, so you can feel clever. Exactly. And I think that one of the big parts of this, I don't know if you noticed it, but the score in this scene
really changed, and I really felt the score was feeling really science fiction-y here. I think the score in this underground room, when talking about codes and stuff, really became something different than it has been the whole time.
I didn't notice that, but like I could totally believe that because their sound design is and their like composition of music is so on point.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, McGregor on the tablet, sending the triangle messages. Puts the draw back. We'll catch up with McGregor later.
Boy found. That's what he's saying.
Boy found, yeah. Found him. Well, actually, we find out because the message from the Kerberos guy later on comes back with the boy found message. Yeah. And then Ling Yi and Oleg turning the wheel. Again, I like to mention everything that happens in situation, but we've already really talked about that.
Yeah.
Daniel goes back to the boat, and then he sees Mora has went into his memory, which he's not happy about. We've talked about the initial false memory chat, so we'll talk about the fact that they kiss.
Yeah.
And then she recoils and says, "This isn't real, you're not real." Daniel says, "You're right, this isn't real.
Yeah.
This is a simulation."
Bosh.
Correct, Konrad? What did you like? You even got the name right, simulation.
Back of the net. That's a top bins, is what we call that one.
top bins. Yeah.
So, okay, well, one interesting point that I wanted to just mention prior to this is I was a little confused as to why Daniel seems to panic when he finds out that Mora has entered his tunnel and gone to the pyramid / their bedroom, because if he wants her to remember who she is, why is he panicking when she's getting close to that? And is it because he doesn't want her to be surprised by the pain of a lost child, or is there something else there?
Well, yeah, because maybe because she's the creator, maybe like it's all about managing how she's finding out about these things, and maybe he thinks that this is going to be too rough on her, which could cause the simulation to really go mental.
Yeah, you don't want her to. I do suspect that there's some element of like if she suffers too great a shock, she will like become brain dead, and everyone will just die permanently. Like we have to. Yeah. We have to like manage the revelations here. But yes, I love the Plato's cave stuff here. It's so cool. Like what's causing those shadows is actually real, and it's just like when he says that, it's like, or are those just more shadows, Daniel? Come on, it's just these really, really interesting like existential questions that they're asking here, and they don't really have any answers to it, but they don't need to because the questions themselves are interesting enough. But he does.
Well, I think actually, sorry, just to talk about the Plato's cave analogy again, I will say one thing, right? I've talked about that already, and one thing I'll say is the idea of like being within the cave and like, you know, you're trained to a rock or whatever, and all you see is the shadows on the wall, and really, you know, the reality is truly, you know, what's actually making the shadows. And as you say, are they more shadows? Like the famous image is like, you know, the thing that making the shadows knows what the world outside the cave is. But also back in the idea in those days, like humans also probably believed that like life on Earth was all there was, you know, and stuff like that. So like I love the idea of potentially like sort of multi-layered stuff going on as well. And I think anytime you have a 3-season show and you reveal in the first season you're in a simulation, your mind is all of a sudden gonna never believe you're in reality no matter what. You know what I mean?
This is one of the reasons why I'm like, well, as soon as Daniel said, "Oh, this is a simulation," I was like, "Well, I've never been more certain about my theory about Mora controlling everything and there being layers to this that we haven't even seen yet." Because if this is getting revealed in episode 7 of season 1 of what was planned to be a 3-season arc, it's like, where do you go from there? Like if everything's a simulation.
Exactly, and what I love as well is when, like, for example, like, obviously we've tried not to compare it to Dark all the time, but in Dark, at the end of season 1, no one would have predicted what happened at the end of season 2. At the end of season 2, no one would have predicted what happened at the end of season 3.
Yeah.
So, except for you, and I think that I honestly think that where the show was going to go is inconceivable to us.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah. But I would have loved that even more if we got to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, like I think even though like I have a very sort of categorical, clear idea in my mind of where I think the show was going, I think I would have still wound up only being half right because they if I was right at all for that matter, like because they just have such a great way of like kind of even the people out there who are really paying attention, they have a great way of kind of twisting their expectations a bit, which is just fantastic. But yeah, this was a great reveal. I was very happy to finally have it confirmed. Daniel kind of turns into an exposition machine in this episode, really. It's just like, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, this is what we need to do. And I don't mind it because it's been fully earned and it's still really compelling while he's doing it as well.
Yeah, and the actor himself puts
and
it
the
across
performance
in
is
a lovely,
great, yeah.
lovely Welsh brogue, But so there's he also wants it. One thing he says is like, you have to remember, or there will be nothing to wake up for, and your consciousness will be trapped forever.
Yes,
he says.
Yes. So that's an interesting turn of phrase as well. Like, there'll be nothing to wake up for. I wonder what Daniel means by that. Like, whether like that to me implies that he thinks that there's some ticking clock in the world beyond the simulation that only Mora can or only Mora waking up can fix. But he doesn't say any more than that, and it's very, very juicy. A juicy morsel.
It is, yes. There's a lot of little juicy morsels in this episode. So Virginia has a letter. We've sort of seen her before. Henry's watching everything in this episode.
Yeah.
He's watching everything on these little screens of his. Shut down in 20 minutes time. This is where the message from the Kerberos guy comes in, and he says that Conor McGregor knows where the boy is. Conor McGregor then goes into Mora's memory to get the boy. How would you believe? So Daniel then says, you have to remember where the code is. And then Mora's like, oh, here it is, the key. She's got a key the whole time. He's like, you had this with you the whole time?
Yeah. She says someone sent it to her. Maybe her brother. But
she got it with because she got it with the envelope.
Yeah. Or did she send it to herself as like the fail-safe wake yourself up kind of solution to getting this getting stuck in this simulation that has not worked. I'm not sure of the answer to that. That was my first thought there. There's one other thing I wanted to mention about the Conor McGregor scene when he's chasing the boy. This is probably nothing, but at the beginning of this episode, Mora looks at the Awakening by, I can't remember her name, Kate Chopin, I think her name is, on the floor, and then Conor McGregor, or Chopin.
Looks at it again. But Chopin,
yeah, I'm gonna say Chopin because that's how the Polish guy is pronounced, but it's probably wrong. But yes, so they both look at that on the floor, and that's the second time in this series that Mora and Sebastian have very, very deliberately looked at the same thing. Like this episode is the Awakening, and in episode 2, I want to say, they both very pointedly looked at Mora's bed where the boy had gone to hide from the mob of angry Scandinavians. Might be nothing, but I just noticed that like they're really focusing on those two sharing views of things, and I can't really figure out why, but it's something that's probably worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, well, I think a big fan theory coming out of this season is that Sebastian is actually Kieran. Okay. They have the same they have the same coloring and stuff. One being German. I don't know. Is that? I don't know. I personally think that's too obvious. It's kind of like I thought going out at the end of Dark season 1 that Bartos was Noah. So I think that like there's some things which I think they want you to think.
Yeah.
So I think that I personally think that the fact that their coloring is the same would imply to me that it's not him, because I think it's too obvious.
Yeah, it could be. It could easily be a red herring. It could. I mean, and let's be honest.
literal red herring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. This episode is full of them pointing the camera at things and saying, what about this? Yeah. When it's clearly them just trolling the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it would be great though if that character Sebastian actually ends up, the actor is actually Irish, and we're calling him Conor McGregor the whole time.
Yeah, he takes his moustache off, and then he just starts talking in like a thick Cork accent or something.
Oh, that would be great. Carrick. So Lucien has a proper attack this time.
Yep.
And then, as you say earlier, Clemence and Jerome are just like, let's get him out of here.
See you later, Angel and Ramiro. And they're just like, you power the ship.
Yeah, and it was all for nothing. We'll find out later. And Daniel gets the tablet. He plugs what we found out is called his shell.
There's a lot to talk about with this.
What do you think about the name of that device, first of all, being the shell?
Okay, so a shell is like a program that runs on a terminal. that basically allows a user to have direct access to like the underlying operating system of whatever that terminal is accessing, and it it allows you to run various programs on that operating system, like whatever functionality is built into the machine that you're interfacing with. So every time Daniel has used his shell, we've seen him use it a bunch, and I will say as well, the production design of this, again, is great. Not to bang on about production design, but I love the like Baroque ornate brass bit that he kind of snaps out at the side, because it like legitimately looks like a Wii U or a PSP, but then with this crazy brass bit on the side. But yeah, so every time that Daniel has used his shell, he has essentially invoked functionality. He's interfacing with a terminal to use functionality that is built into the simulation. So the killing of people, the making the guards look the other, or well, deleting people, I guess, making the guards look the other way when Oleg and Jerome needed to escape their captivity. So that is what. Like that's what a shell is, and I think that must be the reason that like they've used that terminology here, because that's essentially what he's doing. And the most exciting thing about this is that we can, if we so choose, legitimately use the Jurassic Park "It's a Unix system" clip here if we want to, because this entire system could quite easily be a Unix system. Like it. So I'm just saying.
Explain to us what that is.
Like Unix is like an operating system, like a low-level operating system,
Linux, or
but like a lot of terminals will run on like Unix systems because it's very like
rudimentary.
Yeah, like undemanding. Basically, it's simple. Like, and the simpler an operating system is, the less can go wrong with it. So if you've got like really core functionality running on it, you want something that's as robust and simple as possible. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not a Unix system because Unix is very old, but it could be, and that's quite funny.
Yeah, that is really funny. I'll also say there's some more terminology in here that I love.
Yep.
And that's the idea of him saying that. So basically, he's going to say that once they flush us out, everything will start again. I'll run through it, and then you can sort of tell me the computer science stuff.
Yep.
And there's one thing I want to say about one of the words before you go into it, because the thing is, I just want to have something to say. Okay, so
that's right. You have your fun. And I'll say it. I'll be like, I'm going to be like a. This is going to sound very patronising. I don't mean it to be, but I'm going to be like a parent when their child's performing at like a nativity play or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just proud to see you having fun.
Yeah. I'm doing my best here. So okay. So once they flush us out, everything will start again. This run will go into the archives just like the others, but this time it will be different. I'll anchor us to it, so we'll go through the same port. This will buy us more time. Now, all that terminology, I'm sure, means a lot to you. I'm recognizing a fair bit of that. I will say this, though. I love... Now, I don't know why. There's certain lines in some shows where you're just like, this must have been one of the first thoughts they came to before they started actually writing this story.
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances they wrote this whole story and then realized, oh my god, this is set on a ship, and you know, we have ports within computers and we have ports within server blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they must have been like, oh my god, you know, before they even started writing, they must have been thought, imagine a computer port is a ship port.
Yeah.
And they must have thought about that. Then they started sparking more ideas, because otherwise, what fortune, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably did. Like, I mean, obviously, like the reason that they're called ports on you know, like firewalls and things that have ports that you can open and close is because they serve effectively the same purpose as ports in real life. You know, they let things through, basically, or let things arrive there, I suppose, is the more accurate description of it. So yeah, like I think I would be fascinated to know in what order they came up with this stuff, because things like, you know, shells and terminals and ports, that's stuff archives, that they probably came across. What's the name of the hacker film? We talked about it like two
Who
weeks
Am I?
ago. Who Am I? That's it. That stuff that they probably came across, or maybe more than just came across, maybe did some pretty significant research into while they were writing Who Am I? So that's the kind of stuff that they probably brought to this. But to get from that to this like nautical theming for their show is like on one hand, that could be really heavy-handed, like, but on the other, like, they've done such a good job of making it seem believable within this world that they've created. So I won't get too deep into it because you've pretty much explained like most of it, to be honest. But this bit here is actually kind of jumbled techno babble a little bit because it, like, the archives and ports and stuff, like anchoring yourself to ports, like that's not really like how. There are ways to sort of do that in like a kind of computer sciencey sense, but this is a bit like I'm hacking the mainframe kind of thing. Like it's whatever. It just sounds good. Don't worry. Don't think too much about it. But basically, like if we abstract what he's saying, he's essentially saying that like the simulation will be flushed through one port, and the simulation itself, everyone in the simulation will be flushed through one port, treated as one kind of traffic, and the simulation itself will go through another. So we have ports like HTTP for when you're like browsing the web, which is port 80, or FTP, which is for transferring files, which is 21. So they'll be treated as traffic, which they aren't. Which is just like kind of a fun throwaway thing. This, I think.
Yeah.
But it did. As soon as they started talking about this, I was like, hold on a second. If everything's getting sent to the archive, and which is, you know, we've seen a ship graveyard, so it's like, well, come on. like that ship graveyard's an archive. Then it immediately made me realise that we were going to see Andreas Peachman again, and I got very excited.
Yes, we did. That would have been good. That was just him gone, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it was out of the show.
Yeah, he's out of the show. He's gone. Yep, so we also get a little bit more, like each sim runs 8 days, we find out, and we also find out that none of the ships have ever made it to their destination.
Yes. So, not that surprising.
No.
All told, because people keep on figuring stuff out, and the simulation keeps on having to restart itself because it's getting too close to like a catastrophic failure.
Yep. I would agree. Yeah. Okay, so then we got the Oleg and Ling Yi scene where Yukja, Ling Yi's mother, calls out to Ling Yi. She's now down on the outside deck, and Oleg leaves the wheel to go out and try and help her, and then he gets, I'm going to use the word comically.
Yeah.
Washed overboard.
I thought we were going to get a Wilhelm scream here. It was proper, like, just like thrown over the edge. We get our like Odysseus siren imagery here again, with Yukja appearing to sort of try and lure Ling Yi out to sea, which I think is nothing more than just a really cool visual and nod to sort of Greek mythology. But it was great. And what we're entering into in this episode is what I'm going to call a gauntlet of people just fucking dying. This is the
thinning the herd.
Yeah, this is the bit where they were like, right, let's get some of these chess pieces off the board here, guys, and they just run through them all. But this one is really sad because we didn't know that much about him, but the performance is really strong. He seemed like a genuinely good person, although, you know, maybe there's a bit more depth to him that we didn't realize, but it was sad to see him go.
Yeah, no, I agree. And maybe we'll see him again. Who knows? But Lucien, Clemence, Jerome, they get to the room, but they're too late. Lucien has passed away, as you say.
Yeah, bye, Lucien.
Bye, Lucien. Then we get Angel dying as well. Classic under a pole situation there.
Yeah.
He has a moment where he sort of says that, you know, Ramiro was always too good for him, or he's much too nice a person to be with me.
Yeah, doesn't understand why someone so gentle and loyal loves him, which is, you know, classic. I hate myself, but I love you kind of dialogue.
Yeah, it was nice to see it. So Franz, in the ultimate statement by Bo and Yoncha, sacrifices himself for a woman who was a victim of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Unlike his role in Dark, where he almost committed a role of sexual assault.
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself to save Tova, and then Eben and Anka, they are together as they go.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it was a really cool sacrifice, really powerful moment for Franz, and and for Anka as well. Less so for Eben because she's still a homophobe and still sucks. To be honest, I'm not sad to see her go, even if she's a complicated person with maybe some reasons for some of the problems she has. But
Faith didn't waver though. Faith did not waver to the end.
No, I'll give her that. She stuck to those bigoted views right to the end. I'll give.
There's something to be said for it.
Yeah,
there's something.
God, above all else, loves consistency. That's what that's what I've learned. But I'll be honest. During this scene, Franz makes Tova promise that she'll live, and I was of the opinion that everyone was going to die. I thought, okay, we're doing a full wipe of the board here, and I was like,
well, that's what they were trying to do, weren't they?
Yeah, I didn't think Tova would make it, but I was wrong, as it turns out.
Yep, so she did, and also Henry's watching the whole thing. He watches Franz, Eben, Anka, all these people dying. Now, this is the thing, Konrad, I don't know if you noticed this. My little keen eye noticed this. There was tears in Henry's eyes.
Yes.
Watching these people die. What do you think about that?
So, I mean, he says every time they make the same mistakes and every time they die because they can't get rid of their emotions while displaying emotions himself. Which is, hypocrisy to begin with.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, the characterization of Henry Singleton has been all over the place. And I've said, I think the reason for that is that he's this wild manifestation of trauma that Maura has, and not actually a very accurate depiction of the real person who was probably had his problems, but was a lot more boring and less Machiavellian. And I think, I guess, I don't want this to be like a fallback every time I don't understand something that Henry Singleton says, but I do suspect that anytime we see him say something or do something that's in conflict with his goals or with what he's saying, I do think it's because he's essentially like a caricature of someone who has been created by someone else's memories of him. So... I don't think he's genuinely sad about this. I think that this is maybe an aspect of him that Maura remembers where, he was... I mean, he must have had some degree of empathy and some degree of emotion as an actual human because, he spent his life trying to help his wife get better after... I can't remember if they said what actually happened to her. Did she have a breakdown after or something?
Well, yeah, they said that she stopped remembering everything, but it never actually, fully said what happened to her.
Yeah, or like Alzheimer's or something like that. Whatever it was that his wife went through, he dedicated himself to helping her get better, which is not the behaviour of someone who has no emotion. So, I think this is again a muddle of the truth of the situation, which is that Henry Singleton was a complicated man who had emotions, and his role as this kind of moustache twirling villain within the simulation that Maura has created.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm getting similar vibes from him, to be honest with you. I don't know. So I don't. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Like, is he a full manifestation of something within the simulation, or is she just in some way controlling his actual? Do you think he's a person plugged into something, or do you think that he is 100% like NPC of her trauma? So
are you thinking that he's being forced to do something that he wouldn't actually do, and the tears are him kind of crying because he's doing something that hurts him, even though he's being forced to do it? Is that your thinking there?
Yeah, maybe that is my thinking, actually. The idea that he views it as like his role to do this, but he genuinely doesn't have the same sort of conviction as maybe Eben did towards her ideas. You know what I mean?
On the one hand, like my belief is that he's long dead and that like he's not plugged into this simulation. But on the other, there's no proof of that at the moment. I mean, everyone that we've seen in this simulation seems like a pretty real person, and I guess that goes back to the whole idea of if something seems real, does it matter if it is or not? Which of these people are real? Are they all real? Are they all parts of a program that the memories they're based on, or the people that the memories are based on, died years ago? It really could go either way, and that's kind of why Henry's such a fascinating character still, because if he is like being sort of this puppeted by this simulation to behave in a way that he doesn't actually want to, then that's equally tragic.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, only a few more points to go. Mora's hatch is gone.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Is it Mora's or is it?
It might be Daniel's.
Oh no, I think it's Mora's because they're gonna go get Elliot from the grave. So I think it is Mora's.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And it says so Henry basically does a little like sort of tannoy system, like Daniel, please come to the front desk, and he says. You've come far this time. Using the Prometheus to regain access was a smart move. Nevertheless, you've failed again.
Yeah.
And then he says, "I want the key. In return, you will keep your son." So basically saying, "I want that key. That's the code. We need it here." Dan says, "I'll fix this. I love you. Never forget." And he gives Mora the wedding ring. Now, the next scene is Henry opening up the pyramid, little twist of the corner, opening up the pyramid. And basically he says a few things here. For example, he says, Kerberos will be moved to the archive, your mother will bring me the key, and this will all end. He then, inside the pyramid, when it opens up, you can see it says the word wake up, and there's a little slot which you can imagine the key would go in.
Yeah. So, again, like Henry Singleton's motives here, what he wants it all to end. A lot of people are talking about ending this, and I'm not clear on why they're not working together. Why their motives or their goals seem to be so aligned. Why they're not like operating on the same side.
Yeah, because Henry Singleton even says at some point to Elliot that. In this episode, that in order for it all to end, something about Mora as well. So I think there's even an allusion to Mora being the one that needs to save them all by Henry, which is like, well, hang on, but what? Like, why are you working against her then? I don't understand.
Yeah, so I mean, my theory here, and this is really firing from the hip, to be honest, and I doubt we'll ever get anything on this, but I think the significance of the key to Henry's plan is to presumably. Like within this simulation, he thinks that the pyramid and the sort of technology it represents will allow him to unlock the secrets to his wife's deteriorating mind. So I think that Henry Singleton became obsessed with curing his wife of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever kind of mental illness she suffered from, and alienated and isolated his children as a result of that, and that's the trauma that Mora still carries. So it makes sense that within the simulation, this kind of caricature of Henry Singleton is completely driven to fix his wife's mental illness still, and the like his goal that is somehow tied back into the idea of like the simulation, like the not the meta level of stopping the simulation, but like the level that Daniel and he are operating on is still to do with his wife in some way. But there's not really any evidence for that. I'm just kind of guessing because that's the only character motivation we've heard for Henry Singleton in this season so far.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think actually yes. That as the show was probably going to continue, we were going to find out a lot of stuff about his actual wife, and I think like Dark, all the stuff, crazy time travel stuff going on with Dark, it all did come down to the love of a father for his son, and I think this show probably would have done something similar, and maybe it would have all come down to Henry and his wife's relationship potentially at the end of the third season. So it's really interesting to think about that. All right, the episode closes with massive whirlpool opening, which I'm going to be honest with you was in the trailer and really got me excited. I theorized a lot of weird stuff based on that. And then it just turns out that actually it's just opening to send them to what we presume is the archive. The Kerberos goes in. There is the Ling Yi shot where it looks like she is ascending towards a white light.
It's quite uterine. It almost looks like someone being born, to be honest. Like it's sort of...
Yes, I thought that as well, actually. But that moment in the trailer is actually... A few people mentioned in the comments saying that she looked a little bit like the Chinese mythical figure Chang'e. Okay. So that made me go into a lot of research on that. And I'm convinced, Konrad, now that you've almost seen the whole series, you could probably I'll fill you in on that theory another time, that she is a representation of a Chinese mythical figure called Chang'e, who eventually got caught between the Earth and the Moon after she stole/took a vial of immortality. Really cool.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So then we get Ike drinking, and then he hears the sound.
I just say, I love that Ike's been keeping himself busy. Yeah. He's been sent to the fucking shadow realm, and he was like, "Shall I try and get out of this?" Nah. I'm just gonna sit at this desk drinking.
Oh, if I was him, I definitely would have been rowing over to this other boat to see what was going on.
Yeah.
But So basically, he's drinking, and then he goes out onto the thing. The Wind by Cat Stevens starts to play.
Yep.
And people on the Kerberos who are still alive come out to the deck, and the shot ends with Mora looking at Ike, and then go back to Mora, and she's sort of crying or very tearful, emotional, and then the episode ends.
Is this, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first time we've seen daylight? Well, not in like outside of the memories. Like this really struck me as a kind of, if it's not, it really struck me as the brightest scene we've seen of the ship, the ship stuff. It's like this sunless dawn of some kind that really colours the sky orange in a way that's very notable.
We've seen it maybe once or twice at the very beginning, like with Oleg having his lunch and stuff. But I think for the most part, obviously, I've watched the behind the scenes documentary, which you'll look forward to watching. Actually, there is one on Netflix, 40 minutes. They cancelled this even though they had a documentary funded. Anyway, mental. So you watch that. They mentioned that like basically their choice to use that sort of like pinkish hue of sunlight and that actually was because that's what made the volume look the most realistic.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
If they made it just be complete daylight, they just didn't think it looked real. So, but I know what you mean. This is the first time maybe in like the second half of the season where we're actually getting brightness. I think I agree with you there, actually. But yeah, so they're all in this archive. What I like to think about that is it's like those characters are like now in the archive where usually just the former loops of the simulation get stored. So that means that now, does that mean like their consciousness is actually located in a different server than their body now or something? I find it really interesting, those questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's not supposed to happen, presumably.
Yeah.
Like in the simulation, because they're all a part of it. So yeah, will they just be missing from the next instance of the simulation? Or I mean, I guess one of my theories here is that Mora has the PSP / Nokia. Oh no, well, I guess
the shell.
Shell. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna call it an N-Gage still because that's what it is. Like, you're not gonna.
That's what it is.
You're not gonna fool me with your production design, right? But like, she still has that, so presumably she could send them back to a new instance of the simulation when it turns up. But I do wonder whether these characters will even be there, or whether they'll be played by different actors, maybe, or but the same characters. Yeah, it's fascinating to think about. I don't know if there's a clear answer to that really at this point, but either way would be really interesting.
Awesome. Okay, so just before we go into the theory matrix at the end of this episode, I want to just ask you very quickly, because we're not really going to be able to properly theorize and get answers about season 2, season 3, at least we don't think we will. I just want to know, at the end of episode 8 of this season, what's happening? Are we outside the simulation? Are we in the real world? What do you view as the end of this season?
I still think there's going to be like a pullback and reveal where you see like an alien style opening with a bunch of people in like tubes sleeping on like a spaceship or some shit like that. Like that's my thinking.
Tubes.
Yeah, you know, like the kind of the hypersleep.
Like
tubes.
Avatar. Yeah.
Yeah, like Avatar. You know, like the bunch of people in like white robes sleeping, like plugged into the simulation in tubes, and it's going to keep pulling back, and you're going to see like a fucking space station orbiting Saturn or something like that. That's my.
This all came from the. Message from the Kerberos man's
that
clothes.
guy is wearing a fucking James Bond / a Star Trek original series jumpsuit, and you don't do that unless you're gonna do sci-fi. God damn it! All right, so that's what I'm expecting. I want to have I don't think they'll do it, because I think that's gonna, like, when they do that reveal, if they do that reveal, it's gonna be more believable sci-fi than the Anton Lesser stuff, which is very much like a kind of 2001: A Space Odyssey, like walls of blinking lights that clearly don't do anything, kind of sci-fi, which I love. And I would love if the space station that they're revealed to be in, or spaceship or whatever, has like those banks of blinking lights and stuff. But I don't think it will. But yeah. That's my Hail Mary for the for the end of this season.
All right. Well, we'll go with it. Looking forward to that next week then. Okay, Konrad, let's get into the theory matrix then.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not going to give anything away for the scoring, but I will say it's looking pretty close at the moment. So I don't know what we're going to do when we review it. We'll just go through and rate them based on believability, probably. But okay, so the 6 for this episode. Maura and Daniel's bedroom isn't inside the pyramid. Not going to fool me with that shit. The code Daniel and his son talk about is to be input on the ship's hidden terminal. That might have kind of been already marked as incorrect, to be honest, when we come to look at that. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Maura's false memory of her inability to conceive is actually more unresolved trauma manifesting in the simulation of her own creation, her mind creating a reason for her to never have kids to manage the trauma of losing one. Everyone Daniel killed was also sent to the archive, the ship graveyard. Not sure about that. That was just kind of a guess, but I wonder if we're going to see them show up again.
Right.
Henry Singleton, because it doesn't make sense. Like, why would he kill Ava when he could just send her to the ship graveyard? But having said that, she left a body behind, actually, so which Ike didn't. So I'm fairly sure that's wrong, but why? That's something.
Ada,
not Ava, rather.
I know what you mean. Actually, you're right. Why didn't he just send her?
Like, why does he have to kill her? I suppose maybe because they need to find a body. There's probably a reason, but I do feel
my theory on her, to be honest with you, is that she's not real.
Yes, that's possible.
I think we're late enough into the season here. I don't think she's real. The moment whenever Cresta was trying to open the window to let her soul out and he couldn't let it out, that made me really think that she wasn't real. It also just might have been an allusion to the idea that they're all stuck in a simulation, so she couldn't get out anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of remember as well in the first episode how she sort of just knew everything.
Yeah, she was like a little exposition machine, just like, oh yeah, there's a boat that like disappeared and then went to do some shit with the devil or whatever. It's like, why do you know this? You're 8 years old. Like, how?
Yeah. Yeah, I really think that she might not have been real. And also, she's the only other child except for Elliot.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So, yeah, entirely possible. But yeah, rip to Ava if Ada, rather. Ava? Now I've confused myself. Like saying it wrong.
Ada.
Yeah, Ada. It is Ada. Okay. Rip to Ada if Daniel just killed her rather than sending her here for some reason. Last two, Henry Singleton wants the key to unlock the secrets of his wife's deteriorating mind, represented by this alien pyramid that no one fully understands. And Daniel's anchoring of the people aboard the ship to it via the same port means that the survivors will join those two and Ike in the archive, which, I mean, I wrote that and then it came true like later in the episode. But lovely. Yeah,
excellent.
That was a good one.
Lots of theories. Join us next week when we will sort of go through and score them. Hopefully, Conrad's got a positive score. I don't think you've ever not had a positive score, so let's hope for it.
It's close. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. All right, guys. Let's get into Conrad's post, or I don't know, just the thoughts you had after you watched the episode.
Sure. Well, now, that is the Storm done. One episode to go, and I'm still really excited to see it, to be honest, despite everything that's happened in the last week. A lot of theories were concluded. A lot of my theories were concluded in this episode. I'd say maybe 10, maybe more than 10. Some positively, some negatively. I'm sure we'll go through that in the Theory Matrix episode, if that's something that you guys would still like to see, how the scoring goes, although I appreciate it might be a bit of an anticlimax because there's going to be a lot of unresolved stuff as well. But yeah, Daniel was kind of like an exposition machine here in this episode, in a good way, like really, really filling in a lot of blanks in one level of the simulation, though not, I think, the top level of the simulation, but we've been over that before, so I'm not going to carry on about it. But yeah, it was a great episode. A lot of really, really touching moments between characters that, to be honest, a lot that we don't really know that well, but I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see how they conclude the seemingly one and only season that we're getting of 1899. So yeah, let's make it a good one and go out on a high note, and I will see you all next week.
Well, there you have it. We finished episode 7 of 1899, The Storm. I didn't actually mention the name; it was called The Storm. And there you go. You're excited for the finale.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
The series finale, not just the season. The series.
Yeah, the series finale. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Despite the bad news, I'm still looking to go out on a high, and I think they'll do it. They always nail it. I have no doubt in my mind that they will nail it for this one as well. To be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing that spaceship orbiting Saturn or whatever, like wherever it is.
I love as well, like you can't help but put a little bit of extra.
Yeah, I've got. So when you talk to me next week, it's going to be like
it's like it's a spaceship orbiting Pluto. I'm like, sorry, can't have it.
Yeah, like next week I'll judge it up a little bit more. But be like, there'll be men walking around in purple jumpsuits who are like serving drinks or whatever.
Serving drinks, yeah, that'd be great. Like they wake up from like a simulation machine, which is like a video game, and they're just like
they take off
more candy corn myself.
They take off their Oculus Rifts, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's super realistic!" And it's just like Marty McFly playing an arcade game in the future.
Yeah, exactly. 7-Eleven. Okay, so thanks very much for joining, guys. Subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you for the last episode 8. There's also some exciting stuff coming in terms of a special guest coming on the channel, so save that to the end of the video for you ones who stick around. Try and think in the comments, who could it be? So it's not Bo and Yoncha. Okay, we'll see you later, guys, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.